Welcome, fellow human beings, to Addiction Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Matt Logan, founder of Matt Logan Speaks. What we try to do at Matt Logan Speaks is just bring you positivity. It's kind of a positivity channel. And one of the ways that we do that, we want to just highlight and celebrate people's recovery on this podcast. Recovery from abuse, recovery from addiction. So please help me welcome your host, Sherry Irvin.
Hi everyone, with me today I have special feature guest star, Susan Schultz. Susan is a married mother of 3 beautiful children. She currently is working in the food industry in Rochester, Minnesota, and she is a woman in long-term recovery. What you don't know about Susan is that she also suffers from another disease called anorexia nervosa, and she has helped many people in the community that also suffer from that by starting groups and, sharing your experience, strength, and hope. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Susan Schultz. Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan. Like Sherry said, I am an alcoholic. I'm a cross addictor. I've been addicted to almost everything, but one of my main things that I've suffered with is, it started out as anorexia nervosis and it led into bulimia, which a lot of people don't know. It's a very, very, very hidden, secretive thing that I found out by some of my research. You can go to a lot of different research that probably 1 out of every 5 women at some time have really struggled with this.
You're absolutely right. I've done the statistics on it too, and I have read that 9% of all women in the U.S. in one time in their lifetime will suffer from one of the disorders. And I read that 1 in 5 women have actually committed suicide over the disorder. So what are you doing to keep that at bay?
Today I want to really empower women. I want them to feel good in the skin that they're in. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at today. A long time. And it's very, I've started like some support groups, which a lot of people, it hasn't gone over really well because people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. It's hidden. You want to be perfect. One of the things that is the main focus, I'll tell you a little bit about my bio. Would you like to hear a little bit about
Absolutely.
my story? Okay, well, anyway, I grew up, I'm the middle child. Some of my core beliefs as a child is, and I don't know if it's a core belief or if it was really strive for me, but like everybody in my family, it appeared to be that they had everything going for them. My father and mother were both very athletic. They were both very smart, very college. My mom almost had her doctorate in education. My dad was the athletic director and football coach. And he grew up on a farm, very, very, very strict. My older brother and sister were very high achievers, very, very high achievers. Girl state, boy state, homecoming king, queen, went to state in most athletics, band, choir, and it was just kind of like that. And then we went home and we lived on a farm, and so we also worked hard. It was a hobby farm, but we worked. We got up in the morning, we worked. My dad had no feelings at all. I mean, it was he grew up where he didn't feel, and so if we cried or anything, it was like that wasn't acceptable. It was like the expectation was very, very high. So looking back on my childhood, I grew up very perfectionistic, and I had to work very hard at like my academics and everything, and I got A's, and I did go to state in sports. My mom raised us 4 kids. She was like the cab driver. She had an education, but she was expected to stay at home while my dad was working. So what happened was that my parents were divorced when I was 13, and he left, and I lived with a mother that was, she was depressed. She was very depressed, and she wanted my dad back. And it was like, I wanted to get him back for her, but I couldn't. And so I started becoming perfect. I wanted him to come back. I wanted to be that perfect child. And inside, my insides and outsides didn't match. Okay? Inside, I was very sad. I never was suicidal, but I was very, very, very sad. And but I maintained the good grades, and I was in band, and I was in choir, and I was all those things. And then I went to college and became a cheerleader. I didn't go to the sports route. My bulimia started when I was 17 years old. I was a gymnast, and I'm very, very tall for a gymnast. So I started losing weight, and then I was only like 125 pounds, but I got down to like 100 pounds in like 2 months. And that's where I started starving myself. I literally started starving myself. And I would get that, like, how did you do that? How did you get to that weight? And I didn't look good, but people were still saying, how did you do this? And then I went to college, and I was a cheerleader, and that's when my bulimia started. I mean, that's how I could maintain it. That's like, if anybody doesn't know what bulimia is when you eat and then you purge, okay? And I never really drank much in high school, but then I'd want to get away from that. I want to get away from that purging, and I'd start drinking. And then it was like, and then I was into the cocaine, and then it was back and forth and back and forth. And pretty soon it started really catching up with me. I was at my worst. In college, I was at my worst. I was going through the drive-thrus, and sometimes I probably purged 40, 50 times a day. I mean, that might sound outrageous to you, but I did. I started eating, purging. If you ask me from the age of 20 to 28, I hardly can remember anything. I was very sexually active. I was into the drugs. I was into the eating. I was into the purging. I was just a lost child. Then my treatment started. I ended up in inpatient treatment. My first inpatient treatment was for cocaine addiction in 1985. But I also had when I was in treatment for cocaine, they wanted to treat the other. So I went out to Seattle where my sister lived, and that's where Karen Carpenter went to. And I tell you, that was a really, really good treatment center. They have, to this day, I haven't found anything like it. It's a very, very good treatment center, very highly recommended in Ballard, out in Seattle. I was starting doing the aftercare. I started getting better, but then I came back. And if you don't continue with this, then you keep, and even today, I'm doing really well today. I love the skin I'm in, but I still have the days where I suffer a little bit. It's very hard. You have to have food. You have to have food, okay? But when I start talking to other women, you would be surprised at how many people are interested in talking about this once I tell my story. I'm very open about it. I'm very, very, very open about this, okay? I'm not ashamed of it, but it's a struggle. I do love who I am. I do not step on scales 20 times a day. I live by the scale. I don't do that. I can't do that because then I can get caught into that. I've been clean and sober off of alcohol it'll be 3 years, September 15th.
Congratulations.
I've been in 8 inpatient treatments for alcoholism, so to me that's huge. but I keep it up here. When I say I keep it up here, it has to be number one. I have to help other women with the eating disorder, if somebody comes to me, or the alcoholism. I reach out my hand. I help them. But I grew up, like I said, I want to be a people pleaser. I want to be a perfectionist. I wanted everybody to like me. Those are some of the big qualities. I don't have to do that. I just have to love me today. Love me. Love the people around me. There's too much, I've noticed in this society especially, there's too much high expectations on our children today, and it's not good. That is not good to put all that pressure on your children. My daughter today, she wants to I can see it, some of the qualities that I had and that I have today, where she wants to get into that college. She wants to, and I'm like, honey, just do what you want to do. I was kind of like, had all those expectations put on me as a child. You don't have to do that. You know, be you. Be what you want to be. If you want to sing, sing. If you want to be in sports, be in sports. Just because I grew up as an athlete doesn't mean that's what you have to do. You know? Mm-hmm. Just love yourself. Eat the burger, eat the fries if that's what you want to have. That's what I say, you know. It's like, I mean, I don't diet anymore. I've been on every single diet possibly, from grapefruit and hard-boiled eggs to no high protein, no sugar, no starch, this. Today, I don't do that. I look at, am I hungry? Am I hungry? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Today, I try to... I don't live to eat. I eat to live. And there's a difference there. But I don't starve myself. I am not going to starve myself. I refuse to do that. I don't have foods I can't eat. If you do that, I'll tell you, if you say, I can't eat sweets, I can't do this, I can't do that, when you start doing it, boy, it's going to be that plus more. And then you're going to be binging and purging and stuff all over. I try to eat small portion meals, whatever I want. You know, sometimes I go through my shift. I'm a server, and I don't eat a whole lot, but I have to remind myself, you know what? Grab a bun, grab some peanut butter. It's right there. Take a bite. Don't sit there and if you feel hungry, eat something, you know? And that's kind of what I do. So I don't know. That's just kind of my story. Like I said, I've also been addicted to shopping. I've been addicted to back in my 20s, men, exercise, gambling, whatever. I mean, I can get addicted to anything. It's today. I'm addicted. I can't say I'm really addicted. I try to do everything in moderation. If I find myself getting addicted to something, like Sherry, you know what one of my biggest one, it's thrift shopping. And I like to get a good deal, but sometimes I don't need all those deals either. Mm-hmm. But that's if there's anything that I have, that's what it is. So,
well, and I know in the past that what I love about you is the friendship that we have. We share the same illnesses. And I remember when you had broached about starting the support group and for the eating disorder. And, and that was huge. Yep. And that was the book that we were, reading out of. And, and you're right. It's like the white elephant in the room. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to, it's not something that is put out there. There's not enough, I don't feel there's enough support system in Rochester to deal with that. You either go to therapy, which I know that you do an ongoing therapist, and your therapist is very good. I know that person. But yeah, it's something that, I think that should be talked about more, but is not. Unfortunately, our group ended up having to disband, but I really do feel that there's a need for it, especially with the younger generation. We're geared to seeing gorgeous women. We're geared to have that perfectionism in us. We want to be that perfect person. We all have that bit of that vanity going, and we benchmark ourselves on how we look, but we're constantly being inoculated with it by the TV. Comparing ourselves to other women, having that, one of the huge hallmarks for anorexia is that distorted body morph image, so yeah, I think that there needs to be a lot more done with that. So what are you doing today to, when that new woman comes into the group? I know that you're really huge with the women's group. What do you do to make that newcomer feel welcomed and empower her?
First of all, I'm honest. I tell my story. I do tell them that, that it's very important to deal with your mental illness too, and do seek a provider, and don't have any shame in that. Do not have any shame. I try to help somebody get rid of their fears, their resentments, anything that is causing them to go forward. So I tell my story. I think it's very important for somebody to tell their story to make them feel comfortable, think, oh, wow, that's happened to me. That's me, And when somebody hears that, then they're more apt to talk to you. Mm-hmm. I try to empower women and tell them, you know what, we are competent and caring and compassionate. We have some in our support group, Soul Recovery. We have a lot of positive affirmations, and one of my biggest ones, and people will know this because I say it all the time: think positive, feel positive. Mm-hmm. Think negative, feel negative. I don't care to do that. And when I hear somebody talking about that, I try to comfort them and say, you know what, you're not alone. This has happened to me before, but you do not have to be that scared little woman. You can recover from this. Mm-hmm. Reach out. Don't be afraid to talk to me, because it's really, really, really hard, because one of these things is you want to be alone in this. You want to be alone. It's a we thing. It's not, when we're in a group setting, it's we can do this. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can't do it alone, but with us, you can do that. And so that's kind of what I do with any kind of, like I said, with any support group. It's all the same. Working the 12 steps matter. I call it the 12 steps of recovery, whether it be Alcoholics Anonymous, or whether it be gambling, or whether it be any addiction. It's all the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's all the same steps. So you just, I'm powerless over alcohol. Mm-hmm. My life has become unmanageable. I'm powerless over my eating. My life has become unmanageable. Anything that makes your life a little bit out, and then there's steps to take through that. What are you resentful at? And I do that. We do that together. And you know what? I look back on doing that, and it's just amazing. My life is just totally amazing to where it was. I was always afraid. I was afraid I was going to say something wrong. I was afraid people weren't going to like me. Mm-hmm. I was just, and today I don't feel that way. Sometimes it might come across where, wow, she's egotistical. That's not how I feel. Mm-hmm. That's not how I feel at all. I just love who I am today, mm-hmm. And I didn't. I hated myself. I had low self-esteem, but it takes a lot of work. It took a lot of work with mental illness. It took a lot of work with working with other women. It took a lot of work with going to these inpatient treatment centers, grasping what you want. But then you have to do it on a daily basis. You said something about future goals. As far as future goal, you were mentioning something. Mm-hmm. I try to live a day at a time. Yep. I see you're starting a bucket list. I'm starting to get that age where, there's things that I want to do, mm-hmm. So maybe I'm going to start writing a little bucket list. Mm-hmm. I see on your thing you're going skydiving. Cool. Yes. You know what I mean? That's something that we wouldn't do if we were in our addictions. We would be in that. Because when you're in an addiction, you're in an addiction.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't go anywhere. You know, I did, like 3 years, take my family. I went to my father. I said, I really want to take my family to Disney World. You know, at some place as a kid, and this is when I started getting healthier, that I wanted to be in that happy place. And it was great. That was my first thing on my bucket list that I wanted to do. But my future is to keep empowering women and making them feel good about themselves and not comparing them to me. You know, I'm a thin-boned person. My mom was thin-boned. You know, just love who you are. You know, and if you don't feel healthy, then there's things we can do together. We can walk. We can do it one little step at a time. You can start out by walking around the block. You can start at maybe eating a little bit healthier, but not depriving your body of anything. You know, I don't believe in deprivation at all. I've done that too much in my life. Deprivation is not a good thing.
No.
And so my future is living one day at a time, helping people out with anything, you know. This society has grown into where, you know, I look at where with the COVID thing and everything. I just want to touch a little bit on how people are so afraid of the COVID and everything. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful. I have so much faith. That to me, I have so much faith. I'm not in fear today, but I'm going to be respectful. You know what I mean? I'm going to respect those around me and everything. But if I'm like sit there and I live in fear. Before, this would be something I would be eating or drinking or whatever. I'd be in it, you know. I'd be so in my addiction right now. I'd be so lost, so it feels good to have to actually feel it. I feel my feelings today, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I can relate to that absolutely. You know, especially the feelings. I mean, that's like one of the hallmarks of you know, of any of the addictions. You know, the reason that we do what we do is because we're trying to cover up those feelings. And you know, when you get into a program, I like you ended up having to go in treatment for my alcoholism as well as my eating disorder. And you know, when I first went in both places, you know, absolutely had no feelings, didn't want to feel a thing. I wanted to be numb, you know, and now because of the programming, which you as well know, it's okay to start to have feelings. It's okay to deal with that. And I realize that for myself, and I always say this as well, you can't go around them, you can't go under it, you can't go over it, you have to barrel through it. And that's not easy. You're right, it takes a lot of hard work. And you know, and I have watched you over the years. We've had a very close friendship as well, and I've seen the women that you have helped empower. I've seen them when they first walked in the room, and you were one of the very first people that came to welcome them. And that's huge, because you're already feeling alone. And, you know, and to have somebody come up to you, little overwhelming, but you still remember that person that came up to you. And, you know, and then to hear, I've heard you say it too, you know, keep coming back. That miracle will happen. So yes, I have watched you empower many of the younger women. And you know, and that's huge. That's so huge. And, sponsoring takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. But you do it. You know, I've heard people asking you for a ride, even though I know that you're tired, but you're the first person to be like, yep, I'll give you a ride. You know, you have been one of the very first people that I saw that, you know, you definitely paid it forward. You have given back so much what was given back to you. So I thank you very much for, you know, what you have done already and what I know that you're going to continue to do for empowering other women. It has been such a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for coming and sharing your experience and strength and hope with us, because somebody's going to see your story. and they're going to be like, wow, that's a common thread. We share that. And you're going to be the difference between that person possibly getting help and seeing that, there is hope, that not only can we recover from the fatal nature of alcoholism, but we also can recover from the fatal nature of having an eating disorder. So thank you very much, Susan Schultz, for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Amen. Thanks for having me here today. We can do this. We can do this together. One day at a time, we can do this. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the big thing is keep coming back. Keep picking yourself right back up. Yeah. Because, like you said, the miracle can happen.
Yes.
I never thought it could, but it can.
Yes. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast of Addiction Abuse Recovery, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did, as I did. I want you to know that if you want to follow along, just go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just search out Matt Logan Speaks. We have all kinds of great content for you. Hit the notifications button so that when something new comes up, you're the first to know. Have a great day.